The break is over. It is officially fight week again. UFC 302 is this coming weekend. And while I enjoy the break, we got to go to the movies. We saw If. That's a pretty emotional movie for kids, but it was a good movie nonetheless. Either way, fights are back. We need our Saturday fights, and luckily for us, UFC 302 kicks off what I think is a 10 or 11 week stretch of non-stop fights. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC 302 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let's talk about the absurdity that is this thumbnail. If you didn't know, Jacob and I are going to UFC 303, the Conor McGregor-Michael Chandler fight. And I put the biggest bet I have ever put on any fight on that main event. I did a video about it, one of the best edited videos we have on this channel. I didn't edit it, but a phenomenally edited video nonetheless. Jacob has clapped back. He disagrees with my bet. He disagrees with my pick in that fight. And he clapped back with his own video and this absurd thumbnail. Okay, the thumbnail, I actually don't understand how he landed on this thumbnail. I'm going to be honest with you. But the video is actually pretty sweet. Check the video out. I think it's under 3 minutes. And as like every other Jacob highlight video, it is one of the most entertaining, engaging highlight videos you'll ever see. So check that out. That is live on the channel. Now, I don't know why this is the thumbnail. I don't know if I missed something in the video. This is Friday, by the way, if you didn't know what this is. I don't know, and he's the Chris Tucker character. I mean, I love my hairline. I'll take that 10 out of 10 days. I don't know why this is the thumbnail for a video making fun of my pick. I don't get it, but it is what it is. But let's stop talking about UFC 303 and talk about 302 very quickly. Jacob and I, as you know, we're the pay-per-view boys. We spell it with a Z because we're the coolest cats in town. Cats is with a K. I mean, you got to mess with the letters. That's how they know you are young and sweet, because you change the letters that should be in the words. We dominate pay-per-views. My safety parlay in pay-per-views is 5-2. I've had 2 different pay-per-views this year where I gave you more than one safety parlay. And that 5-2 record in safety parlays in pay-per-views in 2024 is almost 30% return on investment. Total units up 7.29 units of net profit in pay-per-views alone. And the total ROI of every single bet we put on the board for pay-per-views in 2024 is 12%. You can unlock all the picks, all the bets, the round line leans, the artificial intelligence, and everything else right now for $10 freaking dollars. And that's $10 a month, not $10 an event. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. That safety parlay, while it does have some ups and downs, pay-per-view specifically, it is very stable. 10-2 in the last 8 pay-per-views. And before you geniuses tell me, well, 10-2 equals 12, and there's only 8 some pay-per-views get more than one safety parlay. 68% event win streak on that safety parlay, 25% lifetime ROI. That is a premium member only bet. You're also going to get tools like the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. This is 38 columns of data, 38 columns of information that you can use, laid out very nicely for you, that you can use to find your spots. I use it for prop bets. Angelo, how do you do so well at Prize Picks every week? Well, I have the data right in front of me, and it's very easy to see where the data on the sheet, where the actual fight data doesn't necessarily align with the lines that Prize Picks has put out. You're also going to get the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. UFC Vegas 92, the last event before the break. A 4.01% margin of error, and that dominated the board. These DraftKings ownership projections are better than anything you're going to get from Awesemo, from Roto Grinders, from any of the humongous DFS companies. We've got it right here, ready to go, and it will be preloaded in our DraftKings Optimizer. This will build lineups for you. If you play DraftKings Fantasy and you chase that giant $100,000 payout, you know how important it is to have an optimal lineup. And you know how important it is to have a wild calculator that builds the lineup for you, let alone builds it for you with the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. Every single thing I just mentioned. So many other things that I'm not going to mention because I'm going to keep this intro under a few minutes. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10 a month. That's $2.50 an event. What are we doing? Jacob and I are up units on the year. Best DraftKings ownership projection in the game. The tools alone are worth way more than $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Join the well over 3,000 premium members that are taking advantage of these things today. You're also going to get more than just me and Jakey Boy. You're going to get Artem, who's giving you PFL picks, PFL bets, ONE FC, all the regional shows in addition to UFC, and the artificial intelligence. We do have an artificial intelligence that is picking fights based solely off of historical data, and it is doing so at remarkable accuracy. We are then taking that data, we're taking the outputs of the artificial intelligence, I know I said that weird, and we are trying to build betting systems around it. Hey, when the AI is this confident, it's accurate at this percentage. When the AI picks a welterweight, it's accurate at this percentage. And we're building betting systems around it. This is all included in that premium package at WeWantPicks.com. And let's go ahead and break down this card. This opening fight is the only switcherino we've had on this card. 12 fights on the card. We lost one. We were down to 11. And then they made it happen. They brought in a short notice Mitch Raposo to take on Andre Lima. We are back to 12. I hate that it's a pay-per-view with 12 fights. That just keeps, it's too lean. We've seen, how many times have we seen just things collapse at weigh-ins for no reason? It's too lean. Pay-per-view should be 14 fights, so you have a buffer for some crazy, for some weird, my drink was poisoned nonsense that you get on some of these weigh-ins. But we got Mitch Raposo stepping up on short notice to take on Andre Lima. And Mitch Raposo is not a name that you're going to know unless you are a die-hard UFC fan that has seen every bit of content that they have ever put out, because he was on The Ultimate Fighter. He did have a shot at the Contender Series a couple of years ago, but essentially he's a regional guy that's winning fights where he's supposed to, but he hasn't gotten that win yet in the UFC. He is part of that New England cartel team, so that's the Rob Font, the Calvin Kattar team. That whole team fights exactly the same. They have clean boxing, clean striking. There are some wrestling gaps. Mitch is definitely a prospect in the Northeast. He's one of the better flyweights in the region. And, you know, if I may say so myself, the Northeast region is maybe one of the better MMA regions in this country. The people that come out of the Northeast are all very handsome, good, tan well in the summer. Shout out to the Northeast. Anyway, Mitch Raposo. He's only 25 years old. He does have a ton of experience. He has been training MMA, full-blown MMA. He's that generation that grew up training MMA as if that was the sport. It is a sport, but you get what I'm saying. He's not a wrestler that came over. He's not a kickboxer that came over. He was in middle school and said, I want to fight. So he started training MMA in middle school. He does have a few opportunities at the UFC, as I mentioned. He lost on the Contender Series to Jake Hadley. That was short notice. He lost in the Ultimate Fighter House. It is what it is. That was at 22 years old, but he's still decent. He has more power than most. He's got clean striking. He is very comfortable in the cage, but he can be hittable because he keeps his hands so low, but he's got a decent enough chin. He's taking on Andre Lima. This guy's a solid striker who invests in the body early. He's got good technique. He uses it well. He throws combinations. He's not lazy at all, and he'll mix things up. He is essentially a pure striker, though. And I know people like, Angelo, no, he's not. Boop, 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 boop. Here's the comment. I know this guy. When he fights in that cage, he's essentially a striker. He's using the wrestling to keep things standing. He will take an opportunity if it's right in front of him to get a takedown. And he's got very good takedown defense, very good submissions, a good get-up game if it does end up on the ground. And as I mentioned, he's got 2 takedowns in the UFC, but his plan is typically, especially if you watch all the regional tape, to keep a fight standing, come at you, all gas, no brakes, try to get you out. He is coming off that win over Igor Severino, where he was bit. He got bit. Dude got bit. So he won that fight by DQ. People did not like my opinion. I thought Igor looked pretty good in that fight. I thought he was pushing Andre around a little bit. I thought Igor was looking good. I felt like, why did he bite him? I thought he was potentially winning that fight or could win that fight if he continued doing what he was supposed to do. That people hated that. People were like, Andre Lima was dominating. What are you talking about? Listen, guys, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, we can watch the same fight and have differing opinions. That's why there's multiple judges. If everything was bang, this is a fact, then we just need one single judge. Either way, Andre Lima won that fight by DQ. Mitch will be Andre's second short notice opponent on this card. His last opponent with the ridiculous name that I didn't even attempt to pronounce was short notice. He dropped visa issues, thank God, because I wasn't going to spend a whole week trying to pronounce that name. And now Mitch has stepped up. 2 different short notice opponents. And while it sucks for the short notice guy, like Mitch is stepping up, biggest fight of his life. Dude went from the Ultimate Fighter House, which is, you know, pretty calm, tame environment. Well, maybe not, but you get what I'm saying. To Contender Series, a little bit of a step up. To boom, pay-per-view. Not an Apex fight, bang. pay-per-view. Good pay-per-view nonetheless. And it's in Jersey, so it's close to home. I imagine he's getting texts and phone calls, and everybody who's known him since elementary school that he hasn't talked to in years that's looking for a free ticket is hitting him up. That's a lot of chaos to deal with. And I think that matters because I think Mitch is very good. I think Mitch could win this fight. If this was not short notice, I think Mitch could absolutely win this fight. Right now, he's a 2-1 dog, or Andre's the 2-1 favorite. So Mitch is a little bit of a less than a 2-1 dog. Those odds make sense to me. The short notice step up, the giant leap in opportunity, I do think matter here. But if we remove the outside world and we're just looking at skill for skill, talent for talent, fight for fight, I think Mitch absolutely can win this fight. I am not picking him to win. I think the short notice matters. I think the friends, the families, the 10th cousin looking for a free ticket and a free ride to Jersey, I think that matters, and that's a lot of outside influence. I don't know what this guy weighs. He did fight somewhat recently. There's a lot of factors that come into a short notice fight, and Andre Lima is good. It's not like he's, some used up bum. Andre Lima is also good. So I'm going to pick Andre Lima to win because of the short notice factor here. The odds are too far gone for me to even consider it. Jacob has a bet on this fight. If you're a premium member, I encourage you to check out that bet already. Outside of that, I'm not touching it. I'm going to leave this alone. I think Mitch is too good to just look at and say, short notice, he's going to lose. Well, I think that's a factor. His skills are there. He can win fights, and he's been training with some high-level guys for a very long time. Then we have Ailin Perez taking on Joselyne Edwards. Ailin Perez has turned into a Nurmagomedov. Ailin Nurmagomedov. She comes forward, has that wrestling, has that control, wants to take you down, and she's going to shoot a million takedowns and hold you down. That's what she's become. She always was kind of a grappler that would strike it out. She actually started as a professional twerker. I don't know if you know that, but she started her career as a professional twerker. Oh, there's a camera. Let me shake my ass real quick. Oh, we're at the weigh-ins. I'm going to shake my ass real quick. And then she lost her UFC debut after shaking her ass 4 days in a row. It was like so embarrassing. Like there was highlight videos of like, when shaking your ass goes wrong. It's like shake, shake, shake. Oh, I got submitted in the first round, whatever it was. I forget the outcome. I know she lost. But then she's evolved. I think that was honestly a great, humbling experience for her. Because while she does shake every now and then to push DOF, she has turned into quite the fighter. Comes forward, works the takedowns, has incredible cardio, doesn't stop moving. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, is Ailin Perez actually good? Once she hits the ground, which she will do because she does get takedowns. Once she hits the ground, she can be a little too aggressive. Her control's not great. She's literally falling off of the top of people. But I'll take a little bit of sloppy because it's just forward pressure nonstop. I'll take a little sloppy than just like too tentative, like in the yeah, and staying on the outside. That was a lady fight. That's what that noise was. Taking on Joselyne Edwards. Joselyne Edwards is pretty good. I don't think she gets enough credit for how good she actually is. She's a good kickboxer. She uses her range well. She's got good variety of strikes, meaning she's not just going to be a straight up 1-2, 1-2. She actually throws a ton of kicks, and I would argue, I don't have the stats, that she throws more kicks than punches. And she uses that long range to keep you on the outside. Then she'll work inside and fight a little bit dirty. She does want to stay on the outside. She does want to keep range, but if she is inside, she can be tricky, but that's where you're going to have your most success. The knock on her in the past has been her takedown defense, but if you watched her most recent fight, it looked like the takedown defense improved. On paper, she lost. If you're just doing the Tapology green-red dots, on paper, she lost. But she didn't lose that fight. That was a bad decision. I think she won. It was Nora Cornole. It was a bad decision. Joselyne's offensive wrestling and defensive wrestling looked pretty good in that fight. I think Joselyne is grossly underrated in this fight. I think she's grossly underrated in most fights. As soon as these prop bets drop, I am likely going to place a plus 3.5 bet on her. I do think Ailin Perez wins. I think Ailin Perez is going to get the wrestling going, have a few takedowns, have a little bit of success. But as I mentioned, she's sloppy. She falls off the top. Joselyne can stand up, throw some kicks, stay on the outside. The way that plus 3.5 math works, you're buying points on the judge's scorecard. All Joselyne needs to do is win one single round on all three judges' scorecards, and she wins the bet hits. So if Joselyne Edwards wins a fight outright, the bet hits. If Joselyne Edwards loses a split decision, the bet hits. If Joselyne Edwards loses a 29-28 decision across the board, the bet hits. It's a great bet when it's a close fight, but the odds are a little wide. And that's what we have here. Ailin Perez, I think, is too big of a favorite considering how good Joselyne can be. I do think Ailin wins this fight. I think the over 2.5 is a very, very confident bet. The round lines haven't dropped yet. When they do, it's probably going to be minus 300, minus 400, and I think it's parlayable because I don't know where the stoppage is going to be in this fight. Although I was burned by all of a sudden Angelo Hill winning a fight by stoppage, but I think we're safe here. Ailin Perez is going to be the pick. As soon as we get the round line leans, as soon as we get those prop bets, I'm going to look at that plus 3.5. I'm going to look at the over 2.5, and we're going to make some things happen. If you're a premium member, make sure you have linked your Discord. Go to your account page, big button, link Discord. Link your Discord. The Discord is 100% free to be in, but once you link your premium membership, that's when you have access to other channels where you can get alerts on when we place bets. You can get the information right there, and then, oh, Angelo has these bets. Jacob has these. So you can jump on them or avoid them, whatever you want to do, but at least you saw them before the odds got a little crazy. My dog, we just had, if you might not be able to tell, my eyes are like swollen. And I don't think it's allergies because, listen, I'm not a nerd. I haven't sneezed in 10 years. I don't have allergies. What I do think it is lack of sleep. My little dog, the little fluffy turd, let's see if I can move this camera and you can see. Let's see. Let's get this going, guys. This little fluffy turd. Here we go. We're getting there. Come on, faster, faster, faster. Nope, wrong direction. This little fluffy turd of a dog was neutered. And now he's, there you go. Here we go. Look how this idiot's laying with his stupid cone. Here we go. Come on. Look at this little turd of a dog. Come on. Okay. He had his genitals removed because he's a puppy and you had to neuter him. So that's him. Sun's out, cock's out. That's him with his cone, just airing it all out. His manhood is gone, but he's still living his best life. So anyway, eyes are puffy. I'm tired of shit because all I hear all night long is that dumbass cone slamming into things, making noise. So hopefully he's better soon so that I can get some sleep. I also had my genitals removed. I am fixed as well. So you'll get better, bud. I promise. Then we have, I'm sorry for that rant. Listen, I'm tired, as I mentioned. It is Memorial Day weekend. I'm filming this at 7:30 in the morning on Sunday. In like 5 hours, I'll be peeing in my neighbor's pool. So, just trying to enjoy the morning, make sure the little buddy's okay. And then, I'll be in the pool with a high noon, just peeing, pretending that I'm not. And if you're gonna tell me, oh, I don't pee, you pee in the pool. Listen, anybody pretending they have never peed in a pool is a liar. You cannot trust that person. Those are not trustworthy people. Oh, I've never peed in the pool. You're not a trustworthy person. I don't believe you. If you say, listen, I have peed in the pool. Typically, I'll get out and pee on the side of the house. Okay, fine. I'll get out and pee on the side of the house too. But what I'm not going to do is trample through somebody's house wet so I can pee in the toilet. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? That's more. If you're in my pool, I'd prefer you pee in it or pee on the side of the house than come in my house wet, dripping everywhere. Okay? Guys, get it together. Like, just a little bit of class goes a very long way. Okay? And money can't buy class. Elegance is earned. And if you know what that quote is from, I'll give you a high five. We got Mickey Gall coming back after 2 years away, taking on Bassil Hafez. A little bit of a controversial, why was Mickey Gall gone for 2 years? Couple of things. Two things can be true at the same time. I said he was cut. People were like, he wasn't cut. He had surgery. Both of those things are true. He fought his last fight in the UFC. He's like, we're not renewing this. So technically cut, right? They didn't renew his contract. He was cut. And during that time, he got surgery. So both of those things are true. He was cut and he had surgery. Got it? Got it. We got Mickey Gall taking on Bassil Hafez. And this is kind of a tough welcome back for Mickey. I do like Mickey, though. I'm a big fan of Mickey Gall. He's a good grappler. He's got solid submissions, both off his back and on top. And he feels a little raw. When he's out there, it's not buttoned up. It's not the cleanest in the world. But that's because he literally was learning in the UFC. His second pro fight ever was in 2016 in the UFC. He was very raw. And the UFC brought him in because they had CM Punk. And they're like, we need to get CM Punk. We spent millions of dollars on this guy. We need to get this guy a win. Who should we have him fight? They brought in Mickey Gall, good-looking dude, looks like a fighter. They thought Mickey was going to go in there and lose, and CM Punk was going to win. You don't spend that kind of money on a prospect to not give him wins. But then Mickey Gall won that fight. Then Mickey Gall beat Sage Northcutt. And if you've been watching for a while, Sage Northcutt was another guy the UFC was like, oh shit. They didn't pay him a ton of money because he was just a young kid, but they're like, wow, he can be good. They thought he was going to be the next Wonder Boy. He had that same karate background, handsome as hell, and they're like, this guy's going to be good. Mickey Gall beat him. Then all of a sudden they're like, how good is Mickey Gall? And then he started fighting higher levels of competition, but his skills didn't improve because he's learning in the biggest organization in the world. He doesn't get to learn against regional guys. He's learning against some of the best fighters on the planet. And that sort of stunted his growth a little bit. And I'm talking about his fight skill growth, not like how Jacob's growth was stunted and he's like 5'8" forever. Not that. And 5'8" was generous, by the way. Stunted his growth like as an evolution as a fighter. With all of that being said, he's a good wrestler. He's a good grappler. He's tough. He'll hang out for a striking match. He's not a quitter. He's going to keep coming forward. He's going to keep fighting. 2 years off, had a little bit of a surgery. I don't know what else he did in that time off. It's always hard to tell, especially he's young, right? He's 32. That's not crazy young, but he's not 38. So I don't know what the last 2 years have looked like as far as evolution of his skill set is concerned, but let's assume he's a little bit better than he was when he left. He's taking on Bassil Hafez. Bassil Hafez showed up on short notice. He fought Jack Della Maddalena, and he looked good, and he almost won that fight. I believe that was a split decision. He's a heavy-handed grappler. His striking is loose. It's powerful. And even though you'll see that check hook, I'll get there, check hook knockout highlight while you're doing some tape study, that's not who he is. He's not a striker. It's a beautiful knockout, and he has that power, but that's not who he is. He's a very tough grappler who's going to shoot doubles. He's going to look to maintain position. He's going to be blasting elbows. This guy's a high-paced guy on the feet, high-paced guy on the ground. His cardio will fade, but that's because of the pace that he's setting early. He is coming off that short notice loss to Jack Della Maddalena where he had 3 takedowns, but he ultimately was outstruck. I don't know what the 2 years off have been for Mickey Gall, as I mentioned. I don't know where the evolution was. There's going to be some improvement. I don't know exactly where it all was. He does have the raw talent. He does have the wrestling, but he just can't seem to put it all together when he needs to. Bassil Hafez showed us what he can do on short notice, let alone with a full camp. I imagine it's going to be more of the same here. Bassil should win this fight. He is going to be the pick. I'm going to keep an eye on the odds. I do have an unfortunate feeling that I think he's going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger favorite, and it's just going to widen forever because people are going to be like, Mickey Gall 7-5, 2 years off. Listen, Mickey is better than that record. As I mentioned, that record's a little misleading because he's fighting such good people so early in his career. So early in his career. I'm still going to pick Bassil Hafez. Then we have the always entertaining Niko Price taking on Alex the What Morono. This is a rematch. Niko has already won this fight. I don't factor that in. I'll factor in rematches if everything's basically the same. If they just fought each other a year ago. If it was controversial. That's where it'll matter. But since Niko Price beat Alex Morono, Niko Price's career is like, and Alex has been always inconsistent, but he's had a couple of good wins. So I just don't, I'm not putting as much into the first fight as some others are. Niko did win the first fight. Pretty sure he knocked out Alex. But again, I personally, if that was 8 months ago, no problem, right? And if it wasn't, if he just destroyed him start to finish, it was 8 months ago, blah, 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 run it back, sure. But it was a little while ago. Since then, Niko's lost a bunch of fights. Alex has steadily improved. So I'm ignoring that first fight. We're going to break this down fresh. We got Niko Price. Very fun. Always a good fight when Niko Price is in it, winning or losing. He's just going to be there. He's going to bang it out. He's going to fight with you, and he's going to have a good time the whole way. He's going to be smiling, and he's going to be doing all the things. He has no problem putting himself into harm's way for our entertainment. He's got solid striking. He's got good submissions. He's got a couple of knockout wins off of his back. Those will forever be a highlight, and he's just an absolute blast to watch. Sheer determination, sheer will to win fights, moving forward always. And he's not the most technically savvy guy. It's not the cleanest in the world. But as we know, if you're a fun person that will come forward and try to fight these fights, you will have a job in the UFC. At least as long as they can do it without a bunch of losses in the mix there. Niko Price has had some ups and downs, has some quality wins, a couple of losses that shouldn't have been losses. Most recently, he was knocked out by Robbie Lawler in his retirement fight. And honestly, I do like Niko. I like Niko quite a bit. But I'm very glad that happened. We all got to see a legend in Robbie Lawler go out on the highest of highs. I was there live in person, and I can't explain how insanely loud that arena was. So honestly, thank you, Niko, for going out there and fighting Robbie Lawler, not turning into a wrestler trying to make it boring because you were worried about Robbie and the power. He's taking on Alex Morono. Alex Morono is a very well-rounded guy. He's got effective striking, incredibly underappreciated grappling. He can get a bit wild. He's got that awkward striking stance, which keeps his opponents out of rhythm for the most part. But Niko Price is also insanely awkward, so a couple of weirdos going at it with their fight style. But Alex Morono is a very, very, very high-level black belt. He doesn't always use his wrestling to get it to the ground. But he does, however, do a nice job working in takedowns when he needs to. If he's in a little bit of trouble, he'll squeeze in a takedown. He's coming off that bounce-back win over Court McGee where he did look comfortable. He had some power. He had some speed, but he just couldn't finish Court in what was a pretty close fight. Niko can win or lose any fight that he's in. He has literally already won this fight. But I don't think that matters here. I think Niko's going to be dangerous, as he is, but I think Morono is just the better fighter. I think he's the more technical striker. He certainly is the better grappler. He's got the more experience at a high level. I think Alex Morono wins this fight. I think the awkward striking will avoid the power this time around. I think he will stay in Niko's face, and I think he wins this fight. I think Niko is he's showing up, going to get paid, going to put on a show, going to be entertaining, going to be in Alex's face and put on a show for us, but I don't think he's going to win this fight. Alex Morono is going to be the pick. I never know if he's going to grapple or not. If you told me Alex Morono is definitely going to grapple in this fight, bang, love it. High confidence, bet the hell out of him. But we don't know what he's going to do. He might do that awkward striking and then get caught. But Alex Morono is going to be the pick. I do think he gets it done. Then we have Philip Rowe taking on Jake Matthews. This is striker versus grappler. That's what this fight is. So if you favor strikers in striker versus grappler matchups, you're going Phil. If you favor wrestlers in striker versus grappler matchups, you're favoring Jake. Because in a constant evolution of a sport, while people are getting good at everything, we still do have some people that are very good at one thing and just okay at the other. And I would categorize both of these men as that. They can fight anywhere. Philip Rowe, for example, can grapple. He grappled too much in his last fight, and we'll talk about that. Jake Matthews has power in his hands. He can strike. But ultimately, Phil wants to keep this on the feet, and Jake wants to get this to the ground. Phil Rowe's a long guy, a high-volume striker, does a really good job of using that range, using that length. His ground game is fantastic. He's got very good BJJ, but his wrestling borderline sucks. And despite managing that range, he can be hittable. He has a negative striking differential, and that's because of a lot of the poor decisions he's making in fights. He's coming off that frustrating loss to Neil Magny where he was winning the striking exchanges and then said, you know what? Let's see what it's like to lose. Winning's easy. Let's lose. I'm going to try to grapple Neil Magny. And then he started grappling Neil Magny for no reason whatsoever, lost that fight, deserved to lose. I wish it would be nice if the UFC, now they have a performance of the night bonus, here's $50,000, great job. They should have like the fight IQ of the night deduction. Hey, Phil, you went out there, made a couple of trash decisions. We're going to withhold a little bit of pay, right? You got to learn. I don't know how else to make you learn. The loss isn't enough. Your coaches were yelling at you. Stop grappling, dummy. But he chose to grapple. He absolutely could have won that fight, should have won that fight, was winning that fight, and then decided to grapple for no reason whatsoever. He's taking on Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews, overall, well-rounded, but primarily a wrestler. He's got solid wrestling, good grappling when he gets it to the ground. The difference there, if you're paying attention to the words, wrestling is wrestling, right? The takedowns. The takedown defense. Grappling is the jiu-jitsu aspect of it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are good at one and not the other. Jake Matthews can do both. He can wrestle and he can grapple. And I just want to point out the wording difference there. And while he is a very good grappler, he can strike. He's got a nice wide variety. He'll work angles pretty well. He'll mix up some body shots. He'll throw power at your head. He does average about 2 takedowns per fight. He has solid striking differential of 3-2. Very real power in his hands. He's coming off that decision loss to Michael Morales, where he only attempted one single takedown. Again, a little bit low fight IQ. I'm sure he was like, Michael Morales is a better wrestler than me. I'm afraid to wrestle. That's your thing. Stick to your thing. You're a wrestler, wrestle. Very simple. Phil Rowe, you're a striker, strike. What are we doing? You strike, you wrestle, and let's see who wins. And this is tough to pick because of the decision-making on both ends. Phil Rowe is the better fighter here. I think his striking is much better than Jake's wrestling. Does that make sense? I think the gap between the striking is, let's say, this wide, and the gap between the wrestling is this wide. I think I'm just holding a chapstick for no reason. I think I did a nice visualization there. So I do think Phil Rowe's the better overall fighter. The clinching of Neil Magny when he was winning the striking was borderline unforgivable. Can we trust him here? No, you can't. You can't trust this guy to do anything ever again, ever. But he does have nice footwork. He does have good range. And he could absolutely piece up Jake on the outside. I have no clue if he's going to do those things, and that's what makes this difficult. Jake is certainly the one-punch power guy. He can just send a big overhand, catch Phil. But I'm going to go Phil here. I hate that I'm going to go Phil here. I don't necessarily trust him, but I am going to go with Phil. Hopefully that loss to Neil Magny was a wake-up call. Hopefully he needed that. And sometimes we get fighters that lose fights they shouldn't lose. They make terrible decisions, and then they harp on it. They dwell on it. They think about it. That was dumb. That was dumb. That was dumb. That was dumb. And then they make the corrections. And Phil Rowe's young enough. He's improving. Phil Rowe's very good, very well-rounded, pretty high-level guy. I have to assume he's learning from his mistakes. Went out there, couple of fight IQ mistakes, couple of game plan mistakes. Hopefully in this fight doesn't make those mistakes. And if he doesn't, he wins this fight. Phil Rowe is going to be the pick, but not the highest of confidence. Then we got Grant Dawson taking on Joe Solecki. We have a couple of jiu-jitsu nerds that are going to go at it. These guys are almost mirror images of each other. Decent wrestlers who are going to play into a grappling game. Neither one of them are going to waste a lot of time striking. And this could be a fun fight. As a lifelong wrestler and grappler, I love this. I like these matchups. I absolutely like these matchups. I don't mind the who's going to win the grappling exchange type fights. I know some people tend to boo and get off the ground. I like it. I am actually of the Joe Rogan mindset, where I don't know if you ever heard him talk about the takedowns and the stand-ups and all that. Joe Rogan hates stand-ups. Joe Rogan hates when, let's say it is a very, very boring exchange, and the ref is like, all right, you two idiots, stand up. Let's run this back on the feet. He hates that. And I actually agree. And for entertainment purposes, yes, stand them up. But this is a fight. This is a fist fight. And if one person can get the other one to the ground and hold them there, they're winning the fight. They're better at the fight. I'm better at this fight right now. I have you on your back. You're just laying there. You can't do anything. I'm holding you down. When you fought your little brother and you just held him down, you were winning. So I tend to agree with that. This will be interesting, though. I do think whoever can get going first, whoever can get the first takedown will win this fight. And it will be interesting. We got Grant Dawson. This guy averages almost 4 takedowns per fight. He's got a great ground game. His pressure is absolutely relentless. Good technical striking, but that's never his game plan. It is always the wrestling. It is always the grappling. His pressure, his willingness to just sniff crotches and dive at legs has afforded him quite a bit of success in the UFC. He is, however, coming off of the jab knockout loss to Bobby Green. It was one of the chinniest moments I've ever seen in this sport. Literally. We know some chinny fighters, right? Cody Garbrandt. We've never seen Cody Garbrandt knocked out with a bink, right? He's getting knocked out because his hands are down. He's just running in like an animal. Grant Dawson was knocked out with a jab. Just out with a jab. I don't know if that was just the moment, his first main event, and it was just too much pressure, too much. Maybe that's what it was. Or his chin is just non-existent, and we just didn't notice yet because he's just diving at legs so quickly, we never really saw him get hit. I think it's probably somewhere in between. Probably not the greatest chin, and that's a lot of pressure. Your first ever main event, like that is a lot of pressure. He's taking on Joe Solecki. Joe Solecki's a very good grappler. He leans heavily on his wrestling and his takedowns. Very slick on the ground. He likes to make things happen with his pressure and his transitions. He also has solid hands. He's got clean boxing. He's going to be the better striker of the two. And that boxing isn't just there to set up takedowns. He will strike with you, and he can have some success like he did against Jared Gordon. He is coming off that loss to Jakar Close, where he had it. You're going to see knockout loss. And you're like, oh, his striking sucks. No. He had a beautiful takedown, had a really nice armbar setup, and Jakar Close just picked him up and bagooshed him on his head. Grant Dawson is almost a 3-1 favorite in this fight. And it does make sense. On paper, they're essentially the same fighter, right? They're both wrestlers that want to do some jiu-jitsu. But Grant Dawson is more willing to dive at legs. And I firmly believe whoever shoots first is going to win this fight. I think the jiu-jitsu is going to cancel each other out. I don't think we're going to get a submission here. The jiu-jitsu, Joe's too good of a jiu-jitsu guy to get submitted. Grant's too good of a jiu-jitsu guy to get submitted. I think the jiu-jitsu is just going to cancel each other out. So it will come down to the wrestling. And as a lifelong wrestler, it is my opinion that whoever shoots first will win. If Grant Dawson shoots first, he'll get the takedown, boom, control. If Joe Solecki shoots first, he'll get the takedown, boom, control. It is much easier to finish a bad takedown than it is to defend one. Much easier to finish than to defend. And I think Grant Dawson will shoot first. He has shown us in the past. He is willing to just shoot instantly. He's willing to shoot a million takedowns. He will just dive at legs. I think getting knocked out by a hard sneeze in his last fight will only further the point that he is going to be diving at legs. If he comes out here looking to strike, that's crazy. You were just knocked out by nothing, and you're going to strike with Joe Solecki, who's actually a pretty good striker. That seems crazy. I think Grant Dawson wins because he's going to wrestle first, because he'll get that takedown, and then the jiu-jitsu from there is even. This over 2.5 is probably rock solid unless you truly don't trust Grant's chin. But I think we're good here with over 2.5, and I think Grant Dawson gets it done. Then we have what right now is booked as the featured prelim. And I love it. This should be the featured prelim. This might be the most entertaining fight in the card. We have two high-level strikers. We have Cesar Almeida taking on Roman Kopylov. Both of these gentlemen were professional kickboxers that then parlayed their career into MMA. And if we're looking at MMA skills, one of them has way more experience. If we're looking at kickboxing skills, one of them has way more experience. And that's why this is going to be a very fun fight. We got Roman Kopylov, very good kickboxer. I mentioned professional experience before moving over. He picks his shots really well before settling in and weaving together nice combinations. He is 4-3 in the UFC. He's essentially only been beaten by people who can take him down. Anybody who could not take him down, he knocked them out. He basically knocked them all out. Anybody who struggled to get Roman Kopylov to the ground ended up on the ground face down. He has an 87% takedown defense. I don't think he's going to need it in this fight. He certainly did need it in his last fight where he was submitted by Anthony Hernandez. He's taking on Cesar Almeida. This guy, high-level professional kickboxer. He fought Alex Pereira 3 times. He beat him once. I mean, he lost twice, but he beat Alex Pereira 1 time. And now we know how good Alex Pereira is in MMA at least. And Cesar does everything that you would expect a high-level kickboxer to do. Clean combinations, big power. He's good work, very dangerous every second that the fight remains on his feet. His takedown defense in the middle of the cage doesn't exist. He cannot defend fights or takedowns in the middle of the octagon. Against the cage, great takedown defense. And we're seeing that in this sport a lot more. People are doing a good job backing up to the cage, spreading their legs, staying wide to not get taken down. But in the middle, he's going to get taken down every time. Overall, Cesar Almeida is a dangerous striker. He's still working on that ground game. He's coming off that knockout win over Dylan Budka. Great fight. This is going to be an absolute blast to watch. 2 very high-level kickboxers stepping into the cage with 4-ounce gloves. I'm pretty sure credential-wise, just straight-up kickboxing credentials, Cesar Almeida is the more credentialed fighter. He's the better pure kickboxer. But this is mixed martial arts. And if we had all zeros across the board on Roman Kopylov under the grappling category here, then maybe it wouldn't matter. But Roman Kopylov shoots takedowns. Not a ton of them, but he shoots takedowns. He actually took down Punahil Soriano, who was a Division III All-American wrestler. Roman Kopylov was like, let me shoot a takedown. Got a takedown. So while I do think if this was straight up standing only, and nothing else, just straight up kickboxing, I would pick Cesar Almeida. But the mixed martial arts aspect, the adding in of the takedowns, I got to go Roman Kopylov. Roman Kopylov is going to be the pick. And here's your mid-breakdown reminder that Jacob and I dominate pay-per-views. The safety parlay in pay-per-views this year is 5-2, but that return on investment is 26%. The bets are up 7.29 units on pay-per-views this year. 12% return on investment on pay-per-views this year. If you want to unlock all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, and more for UFC 302 and the other cards in a 1-month period, you can do so for only $10 a month. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. And if you want $50, we'll send you $50. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners using the link, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing. You're going to use the link. You're going to sign up. They're going to send me money. Hey, Ange, thanks for sending us this customer. And then I'm going to slice off $50 and give it right to you. Not a promo, not a rollover, not $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, whatever you want. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the link. Make a deposit, get yourself paid. And the final breakdown slide in the middle of this breakdown is the P.O. box. If you want to send something, if you want us to open it on the Fight Foods vlog, here's the address. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas. Anything you send, whether it's notes, food, whatever it is, we will open it, we will eat it, we will read it. Wow, that's open it, eat it, read it. That should be on a shirt. Well, here's the address. If you want to send something, we're more than happy to spend the time reading it, engaging with it on the Fight Foods vlogs, which we film for every single pay-per-view. And opening up the UFC 302 main card, we have Randy Brown taking on Elizeu Zaleski. This is one of the fights where I looked at it just on paper. Didn't do the deep dive yet. Didn't do it on paper. I was like, well, Randy Brown whoops this dude's ass. And that was my gut reaction. I have since... That's rolling back. I have since rolled that back, scaled that back. The confidence level has plummeted. And it has nothing to do with Randy Brown. Randy Brown's still a very good fighter and everything to do with Elizeu Zaleski. But let's talk about it. We got Randy Brown. This guy's a very good striker. He uses his range really well. This guy is nuts tall for this weight class at 6'3". Jacob is 180 pounds-ish. He's 5'6". Randy Brown is 6'3". And weighs 170 pounds at weigh-ins. Think about that. Randy Brown could lean on Jacob's head like Shaq in a Kemba Mutombo. Like, ding. Anyway, Randy Brown, nuts tall. And he uses that length. He uses that reach. Nice long jabs. Good kicks to keep you at bay. And when he's ready, he will use the speed to initiate those solid boxing exchanges. He has 9 takedowns in the UFC. And while he doesn't go to them very often, he's got nice trips, solid jiu-jitsu. He will work you to the ground, and he can get things going from there. He's very good. He's a lot of fun to watch. He is coming off that first round KO win over a very old Muslim Salikov. He's taking on Elizeu Zaleski. As I mentioned, when I opened this up, just gut reaction was, Randy Brown smokes him. And then you do the tape study. You dig in a little bit, and you're like, shit. Elizeu Zaleski is good. He's a solid striker. He's got real power. He's very athletic. He can be dangerous on the ground as well. He's a busy guy, active striking style where he's constantly moving. And I mentioned he's got real power, real athleticism, and real cardio, which makes him a very dangerous guy. He's coming off a draw against Rinat Fakhretdinov where he was dropped early. All right, old, got dropped. But then he had an incredible third-round rally, turned it into a 10-8, almost finished Rinat, which forced a draw. And to get a rally that late in the fight, after that much adversity earlier in the fight, shows you just how tough, how gritty, and how unfazed by the events leading up to that this guy can be. And the ability to ignore what has happened the 2 rounds prior and just go out there in the third round, try to win that fight is nuts. And that's a very admirable quality for a fighter to have. He's got 2 losses in the last 9 years. One of them was a bad decision to Muslim Salikov. I do think Randy Brown's going to win here. I do think he is. I think the long range, I think the striking, I think the power will be there. But Zaleski is a gamer. Zaleski could gut his way through some trouble. Potentially sneak something out if he gets Randy to the ground. I am going to pick Randy Brown still. Unlike Rinat Fakhretdinov, Randy Brown is going to stay at bay. He's not going to get into some weird grappling exchange and end up. He's going to stay at bay, use the range. I don't think this is going to be an exciting fight. I think Randy Brown is going to stay on the outside and just pick him apart, staying long, with Elizeu just trying to run through whatever he can run through to get it to the ground. We did see that Elizeu's a little chinny, right? Renat dropped him. That happened. Randy Brown's got more power. He's more accurate. He's a better striker. But Elizeu Zaleski is insanely tough. Randy Brown remains the pick. But I'm telling you, my gut reaction was, all right, safety parlay, Randy Brown. And then I was like, I'll leave him out of the safety parlay. I do think he wins, though. But this is a very interesting fight to kick off the main card. Another very interesting fight on this main card. This is a good pay-per-view. This is objectively a good pay-per-view. All 5 of these main card fights are very good. The main event is awesome. Co-main event is maybe the fight I'm most looking forward to. This is a very good fight. Kevin Holland is always in exciting fights. This is a good main card. And this is an interesting fight because I'm a big Jailton Almeida guy. And he's taking on Alexandr Romanov. I was a huge Alexandr Romanov guy as well. And then that guy just got fat and sloppy and slow and really fell off a cliff. Not Jailton. This guy's an absolute savage. He hasn't looked like a human being yet outside of 20 seconds in his last fight. He's got powerful hands, incredible grappling. All but one of his wins are by stoppage, and that's because he has non-stop pressure. That one win that he didn't win by stoppage was 25 minutes where he didn't slow down. Jailton Almeida is a beast. He can take anybody down, and when he takes you down, he can work, he can hold, he can do whatever he wants to do. He took down Curtis Blaydes 9 times in his last fight. That fight went 1 round and like 8 seconds. He took him down 9 times in that 1 round. And the only reason he lost that fight is because he just had, it's an odd situation because he didn't quit. He did not quit. We've seen Alexandr Romanov quit. We'll talk about that. Jailton Almeida did not quit in his last fight. He froze. He had a leg. He was working a takedown to get his 10th, and he got hit in the side of the head over and over and over. Instead of making adjustments, instead of letting go and backing out, he just held onto the leg. I think he was like, uh-oh, what should I do? And then just froze up. We all freeze up. That happens. You guys have seen me in these videos freeze up. You ever see a jump cut in a video? I froze up. He froze up. Not a quitter. And that is a very important distinction to make here. So Jailton Almeida, beast of a wrestler that can take down anybody as many times as he wants, including the best heavyweight wrestler who was Curtis Blaydes 9 times in that first round. And he's taken on another big wrestler in Alexandr Romanov. And we've seen 2 versions of Alexandr Romanov in the UFC. We saw the 2022 version. The guy that was like, Alexandr Romanov will never be a full 6-pack guy. He'll never look like Jailton Almeida, but he looked good. He was a big dude, clearly a solid guy, and he would come forward, freight train, wrestle right through people. And then we saw the 2024 version, the late 23 version, that was a couple of cheeseburgers away from his BMI, putting him into a wheelchair. We've seen 2 versions of Alexandr Romanov. We saw the guy blow through people. And then we saw the guy lose to Marcin Tybura because he got tired after the first round. Then we saw the guy quit against Volkov. Quit. Was it Volkov? Who the fuck? Yeah, Volkov. It was Volkov. Just straight up quit. He literally landed 0 punches. Not one single punch was landed. Turned his, I'm done. I didn't get that takedown. I'm done. But Alexandr Romanov, if he is in shape, which unfortunately does look like he is in shape. You check out the Instagram, he looks like he's in shape. And that is important research to do. But Alexandr Romanov, if he's in shape, has very good wrestling. He's a big, solid guy that will come forward. And I don't think he's the type of guy you're going to knock out on the feet. On the ground, I think you can get him to quit. We watched Volkov do it. On the feet, I don't think that's what's going to happen. So either way, we got Romanov, a giant beast of a wrestler when he's in shape, versus Jailton Almeida, a giant beast of a wrestler who's always in shape. And I will take the always in shape over the is he going to be in shape. I think Jailton Almeida wins this fight. I think Jailton Almeida gets as many takedowns as he wants, and then eventually Alexandr Romanov is going to quit. We've seen it. We've seen Romanov quit. We've seen Jailton Almeida take down whoever he wants, whenever he wants to. We've seen it all. And I got flack for this from, I'm not trying to spoil anybody else's picks on the channel, so I'll leave that alone. But I've gotten flack from people in the comments, from some of my coworkers. Jailton Almeida's a fraud. Jailton Almeida's not that guy. We have only seen him look bad for 20 seconds. 20 seconds. And it's just because he did nothing. He didn't quit. He didn't turn over. Just sat there, froze up, got beat. Not a great look, obviously. Obviously, not a very good look. But I think Jailton Almeida is that guy. I think he ragdolls Romanov. And I hate to say it because I was a big Romanov guy, but I think he just ragdolls him. Jailton Almeida is next level when it comes to his power, his wrestling entries. He's not the most technically sound wrestler, and he doesn't need to be. He's just so damn strong and so willing to wrestle. And at heavyweight, that goes a long way. Jailton Almeida is the pick. We have the always exciting, always ready to fight anybody, Kevin Holland, stepping up on short notice and going back up to middleweight to take Mikhail Oleksichuk. Oleksichuk. Yeah, I got there. Come on, idiot. You guys doubted that I was going to pronounce that correctly? This is 2024 inch. Angie pronunciation. We got Kevin Holland. This guy is an accurate, laser pinpoint accurate striker who does have power. It's not the raw one-punch bazooka power, but it is this like bink, perfect, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Very good jiu-jitsu as well. The wrestling sucks, but if it's on the ground, he can tangle you up. He is a black belt. If it's on the feet, he can snipe you, pick you apart at bay. Takedown defense is not very good. It is improving a little bit, but it's not going to matter. Mikhail Oleksichuk, didn't say it right that time, is not trying to take down Kevin Holland. But Kevin Holland, very good striker, stepping up on short notice, is coming off that loss against Michael Venom Page, where he did showcase his toughness. There were some questions about Kevin Holland's toughness after the Wonder Boy fight, but don't forget, he broke his hand in that Wonder Boy fight. Like, literally, his hand was broken. And then MVP, Michael Venom Page, did work him, but he was tough. He stayed in there. He ate the clean, like that spinning back elbow was nuts, and he ate it. Kevin Holland is tough. He is moving up to middleweight, and he's fighting another pretty tough, or at least insanely dangerous early Mikhail Oleksichuk. This guy's a good striker, fast hands, ton of pressure early. He has power as well with 6 knockouts and 7 UFC wins, and while he is dangerous on the feet, he doesn't have grappling for the most part. He can fade as the fights go on, and he is coming off of just the mauling by Michelle Pajeda. We have Kevin Holland stepping up on short notice. Historically, that's not great, right? He doesn't have a ton of success in these short notice fights. But we appreciate that he's willing to do that. I love Kevin. I think we all love Kevin. The short notice worries me a little bit. The up in weight doesn't worry me as much. He was a middleweight. He's a little bit undersized, but Mikhail Oleksichuk is not exactly a humongous guy. Kevin is going to be the bigger fighter here. Mikhail's a bit flat. He is fast as shit, but he is a bit flat-footed. Kevin should be able to stay outside, stay in the range, piece up Mikhail, weather whatever early storm, and get it done. Kevin Holland is going to be the pick. I'm pretty confident in him to get it done. Obviously, you got quick, fast power out of Mikhail. That's always going to be a little nerve-wracking, but Kevin Holland should be the better striker, going to be the rangier guy, going to be the more experienced guy. I think Kevin Holland absolutely wins this fight, and the gap on the ground is absolutely tremendous. And Kevin's wrestling sucks, but he's snuck in a few takedowns randomly in a couple of fights. But Kevin Holland is the pick, and I'm pretty confident in him to get it done. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. This is a spectacular co-main event. I love this fight. Sean Strickland, while isn't the most exciting guy in the world, right? He literally just moves forward 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. He is a guy that you just have to watch. He can beat anybody on any day. He's an absolute train wreck emotionally leading up to fights. You got to watch Sean Strickland. He's taking on Paulo Costa, one of the more entertaining guys, both in side and outside of the octagon. I love Paulo Costa. I think this is a spectacular fight. One of the funniest things he's done on social media recently is he found a video of a heavier woman working out. And she was clearly an attractive woman, but heavy. And Paulo Costa was like, if you can get her on a diet and you can get her to the gym, that's like buying Bitcoin in 2010. I mean, it was a hilarious post. It was just well done, and it was funny because you could just tell, like, she is very attractive. And you lose a couple of pounds, he's not wrong. We got Sean Strickland taking on Paulo Costa. Sean Strickland, I like to call him a blue-collar striker. There's nothing fancy. He's not going to spin. Nothing fancy. He's not going to kick either. It's just like 1-2, 1-2, Philly shell, That's all it is. That is his entire game plan. Philly shell, roll with the punches, throw out a ton of volume. He does not have power. Yes, he dropped Izzy, but don't forget, that was an Izzy that had a DUI like a week earlier. An unfocused Izzy that thought he was going to run through Sean Strickland. And that was a short notice step up for Sean too, which messed with Izzy. And I'm not making excuses for Izzy because Sean dismantled him. I'm basically just saying, just because Sean Strickland dropped Izzy doesn't mean he has power. Obviously, there's some power there. He's a professional fighter that weighs 200 pounds on fight night. But you get what I'm saying. When we look at the division, we look at guys. Alex Pereira, that's power. Sean Strickland, typically a busy guy. Come forward, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Philly shell, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. He can fight that way for 6 weeks and not get tired. He does have a nice takedown defense at 77%. He does have good offensive wrestling as well. He started his career at 170 pounds in the UFC as a wrestler and has just evolved into who he is now. And good for him. It's working for him. He just lost his belt in a very, very close fight to Dricus du Plessis, where he landed more strikes, but he was taken down 6 times, and the general public was absolutely split in half on what they thought about that fight. He's taking on Paulo Costa. This guy is tremendous. He is 6'1", but jacked as shit. These guys have very different bodies. The fact that Paulo Costa makes weight is astonishing. Massive human being with a ton of power and a ton of output. People think Sean Strickland's a high volume striker. Paulo Costa is literally landing more strikes. And he does have cardio. And people, I said that last time. People are like, what do you, cardio? LOL. LOL. Go watch his fight with Yoel Romero. Tell me he doesn't have cardio. Go watch his fight with Marvin Vettori. That 5th round, he was coming forward. He looked phenomenal in that 5th round. Paulo Costa has cardio. He's not active. This is the most active he's honestly been in a very, very long time. 2 fights in a 4-month period or whatever it is. That's insanely active for Paulo Costa. But Paulo Costa is very good. He's got good jiu-jitsu, good takedowns, good takedown defense, good powerful striking. He will spin. In fact, he almost knocked out Robert Whittaker with a spinning back kick. Almost had that dude out cold, and if there was 5 seconds left in that round, he might have. Robert was like, whoa. And if Paulo had a little bit more time to rush and then land those shots, he might have gotten it done. Paulo Costa is very good, and that's what makes this fight absolutely spectacular. Sean is a 2-1 favorite. That seems wide to me. I get he's the former champion. I get he's a very reliable, dependable guy. You know exactly what he's going to do in that cage. I don't think we've ever seen Sean Strickland not show up. I can't think of a fight, and I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, where he didn't show up. He got slept by Alex Pereira, but okay. Everybody does. Literally everybody does, except Bruno Silva. He didn't sleep Bruno Silva. Everybody else gets slept by or Jan Blachowicz. All right, you get my point. So he got slept by Alex Pereira. Outside of that, I cannot think of a fight where Sean Strickland shit the bed. He's obviously lost some fights, but he's dependable. Even that loss to Jared Cannonier, I thought he won that fight. So we have the dependability of a Sean Strickland, who we know for a fact is going to move forward, Philly shell, stay in Paulo's face, versus the unpredictable but very dangerous Paulo Costa, who is going to be throwing bombs, trying to connect, trying to spin, trying to make something happen. I am going to pick Sean Strickland here because he is dependable, and I trust the Philly shell. But Paulo Costa is the more dangerous of the two. Paulo Costa is an absolute gamer, and if he does decide to wrestle, might have some success. He doesn't wrestle often. He's just leaning into how fun he is. I love this fight. This is a great main event. I am going to be picking Sean Strickland here. I think the Philly shell will do him quite a bit of service here. And I think Paulo Costa is going to put on an exciting fight. He's going to be moving forward, trying to win this fight, spinning, trying to make something happen. But Sean Strickland will just be too durable, have too much of a jab, and Sean Strickland's probably going to win an exciting decision. Also, this is a 5-round fight. I said I thought it was 3 rounds last week. I was wrong. 5-round fight that only favors Sean even more. While I do agree, Paulo Costa has cardio. I'm the one who said it. I'm the one who defended it against Marvin Vettori. I'm the one who defended it against that Cuban wrestler who I forgot his name 5 seconds ago. I think Sean Strickland just gets better and better each round. Busier and busier each round. So 5 rounds favors Sean Strickland, but we may get an interesting Paulo Costa here that saw that Dricus took down Sean Strickland 6 times, and he might be shooting first. He might be looking to get those takedowns, and that would be a very interesting dynamic if we get that going. And then we have the main event of the evening. We have Islam Makhachev defending his belt against Dustin Poirier. Islam Makhachev defending his belt for the first time against an actual lightweight in a very long time. The other two fights were against Alexandr Volkanovski, against a little itty-bitty 145-pounder. Islam Makhachev did beat Charles Oliveira, has the belt, has showed us more than one time that he's got very good striking. We know he had spectacular wrestling. Dustin Poirier has shown us that even if he's getting his ass kicked, he is never out of a fight. As long as he is conscious, he is in a fight. This is a good main event. This is a fun main event. Dustin Poirier, you're going to be hard-pressed to find people who don't like him. He's a fun guy, seems like a nice guy, and he goes out there and he fights his ass off. I cannot think of a boring Dustin Poirier fight. Islam Makhachev is an insane wrestler with very good hands. His grappling is aggressive. He's always looking to advance. He's always looking to punish. He's always looking to finish. He doesn't just camp out, right? He's not a wet blanket. He'll get a takedown and then he's working. He took down Charles Oliveira and he could have just hung out. But he didn't. He moved. He made something happen and then got that submission win. Even in the fight, the first fight against Volkanovski, he continued to move forward. He continued the pressure, and Volk gave him everything. And I think that actually showed us how tough and good Islam is. A lot of people think that Islam looked bad in that fight. And while he didn't look great, I think it's more of a credit to how good Volkanovski actually is. But I like the fact that Islam, who was in some trouble, who did have some issues in that fight, didn't let it affect him. He continued to move forward, continued to try to win that fight. We've seen the striking improvements from him. Islam Makhachev is very, very good. And he's taking on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is also very, very good. Dustin Poirier has also said, I'm probably retiring after this fight, win or lose. You never want to hear it. Dustin is a guy, though, that I don't think it matters. I don't think he's going to half-ass a training camp. So even if he was positive he was retiring, or even the fact that he's contemplating it, I don't think it matters. Some people that does matter, right? Some people that have had rocky up and down career. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Dustin's going to give this fight camp everything he has. I think he has put it all in this fight camp. And I think he's just talking out loud. He knows his age. He knows his standing. And I think basically his point is he wants this title so bad that if he loses and doesn't win it, it's like, I'm probably not going to get another crack at it. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that he's preparing for this fight. So a lot of people saying, oh, Dustin's already talking about retirement. That's never good, blah, blah, blah. While I do agree, I don't think it matters here. Dustin Poirier has cemented his legacy as an insanely exciting, insanely tough guy who has been at the top of the food chain for a very, very long time. When he's not jumping guillotine for no reason whatsoever, he's a high IQ fighter with insanely clean boxing and very good BJJ. I think Dustin Poirier is going to be the better striker in this matchup. I also don't think it's going to be as wide of a margin as people think. Islam showed us that he's throwing head kicks, showed us that he can have some power, showed us that he's a nonstop wrestler. And very simply, I think Islam blows through Dustin Poirier. And I hate to say it out loud because I would love to see, I mentioned this last time, I think the all-time, if there is an MMA god, if there is an MMA god, I think the all-time gift that he could give us outside of that Max Holloway knockout is Dustin Poirier losing 4 rounds, 3 seconds left in the 5th round, jumps guillotine and gets it done. That would be an all-time gift. All-time gift. Jumping guillotine. His first ever guillotine win after all those absurd guillotine attempts to win the belt in a fight that he was getting his ass kicked. That would be an all-time outcome. And I would happily lose any bet that I have on Islam Makhachev to watch that outcome. Highly unlikely, though. I think Islam gets whatever takedowns he wants. I actually think he finishes Dustin here. Dustin's crazy tough. We just watched Benoit Saint Denis toss that guy around in the first round and then eat that punch to the chin to get knocked out cold. Or just a right hook, dunk, done. Dustin Poirier is a beast. Dustin Poirier, I hope, does not retire if he loses this fight. Give him another fight. Give him another legend. Let him go out on top the same way Robbie Lawler did. Islam Makhachev wins this fight, though. I think the wrestling's just too damn good. Too good a pressure. I think he's just going to come forward, get whatever takedowns, and sort of maul Dustin a little bit. If Dustin stays tough, doesn't get submitted, then he'll be one punch away at every moment to win this fight. And before you tell me, Dustin's a high-level black belt. So is Charles Oliveira. And he got submitted. Islam Makhachev is absolutely the pick, and I am very confident in that. Guys, that is the breakdown. And before we end this video, let me try to give you $50. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the link to sign up with any one of our partners, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. You can then use that money for anything you want. Buy a cheeseburger, do whatever you want with that money. I would like if you spent 10 of it on premium membership. Premium membership is going to give you all the picks, all the bets, the tools, the round line leans, and everything else you have ever needed heading into a fight week, including the line movement tracker, including the detailed data, metrics, and analytics, including the DraftKings optimizer preloaded with the best ownership projections in the game, and including more than just this beautiful face and Jakey boy. You're going to get picks and bets from Artem. You're going to get picks, bets from the running mouth guys. You're going to get picks, bets from the Pick GPT. This is an artificial intelligence that is picking fights based solely off of historical data. Every single thing that I just mentioned and so much more is only $10 for an entire month. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member at the top. $10 a month, guys. Good luck this weekend.